Good morning. This is Ron. Welcome to Story Time. Yes, this is Ron, and today is Saturday, August the 5th, and I am reading from the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene and Juiced Elfers. And today I'm going to be reading Law 30, Make Your Accomplishments Seem Effortless. Your actions must seem natural and executed with ease. All the toil and practice that go into them, and also all the clever tricks, must be concealed. When you act effortlessly, as if you could do much more. Avoid the temptation of revealing how hard you work. It only raises questions. Teach no one your tricks, or they will be used against you. Humanity's first notion of power came from primitive encounters with nature. The flash of lightning in the sky, a sudden flood, the speed and ferocity of a wild animal. These forces required no thinking, no planning. They awed us by their sudden appearance, their gracefulness, and their power over life and death. And this remains the kind of power we have always wanted to imitate. Through science and technology, we have recreated the speed and sublime power of nature, but something is missing. Our machines are noisy and jerky. They reveal their effort. Even the very best creations of technology cannot root out our admiration for things that move easily and effortlessly. The power of children to bend us to their will comes from a kind of seductive charm that we feel in the presence of a creature less reflective and more graceful than we are. We cannot return to such a state, but if we can create the appearance of this kind of ease, we elicit in others the kind of primitive awe that nature has always evoked in humankind. One of the first European writers to expound on this principle came from that most unnatural of environments, the Renaissance court. In the Book of the Courtier, published in 1528, Baldassare Castiglione describes the highly elaborate and codified manners of the perfect court citizen. And yet, Castiglione explains, the courtier must execute these gestures with what he calls sprezzatura, the capacity to make the difficult seem easy. He urges the courtier to practice in all things a certain nonchalance, which conceals all artistry and makes whatever one says or does seem uncontrived and effortless. We all admire the achievement of some unusual feat, but if it is accomplished naturally and gracefully, our admiration increases tenfold. Whereas, to labor at what one is doing and to make bones over it shows an extreme lack of grace and causes everything, whatever it's worth, to be discounted. Much of the idea of sprezzatura came from the world of art. All the great Renaissance artists carefully kept their works under wraps. Only the finished masterpiece could be shown to the public. Michelangelo forbade even popes to view his work in progress. A Renaissance artist was always careful to keep his studio shut to patrons and public alike, not out of fear of imitation, but because to see the making of the works would mar the magic of their effort, or of their effect, and the studied atmosphere of ease and natural beauty. The Renaissance painter Vasari, also the first great art critic, ridiculed the work of Paolo Uccello, who was obsessed with the laws of perspective. Too obvious in his work, or the effort Uccello spent on improving the appearance of perspective was too obvious in his work. It made his paintings ugly and labored, overwhelmed by the effort of the effects. We have the same response when we watch performers who put too much effort into their act. Seeing them try so hard breaks the illusion. It also makes us uncomfortable. Calm, graceful performers, on the other hand, set us at ease, creating the illusion that they are not acting, but being natural and themselves, even when everything they are doing involves labor and practice. The idea of sprezzatura is relevant to all forms of power, for power depends vitally on appearances and the illusions you create. Your public actions are like artworks. They must have visual appeal, must create anticipation, even entertain. When you reveal the inner workings of your creation, you become just one more mortal among others. What it is understandable is not awe-inspiring. We tell ourselves we could do as well if we had the money and time. Avoid the temptation of showing how clever you are. It is far more clever to conceal the mechanisms of your cleverness. Talleyrand's application of this concept to his daily life greatly enhanced the aura of power that surrounded him. He never liked to work too hard, so he made others do the work for him. The spying, the research, the detailed analyses. With all this labor at his disposal, he himself never seemed to strain. When his spies revealed that a certain event was about to take place, he would talk in social conversation as if he sensed its imminence. The result was that people thought he was a clairvoyant. His short, pithy statements and witticisms always seemed to summarize the situation perfectly, but they were based on much research and thought. To those in government, including Napoleon himself, Talleyrand gave the impression of immense power, an effect entirely dependent upon the apparent ease with which he accomplished his feats. There's another reason for concealing your shortcuts and tricks. When you let the information get out, you give people the ideas that they can use against you. You lose the advantages of keeping silent. We tend to want the world to know what we have done. We want our vanity gratified by having our hard work and cleverness applauded, and we may even want sympathy for the hours it has taken to reach our point of artistry. Learn to control this propensity to blab, for its effect is often the opposite of what you expected. Remember, the more mystery surrounds your actions, the more awesome your power seems. You appear to be the only one who can do what you do, and the appearance of having an exclusive gift is immensely powerful. Finally, because you achieve your accomplishments with grace and ease, people believe that you could always do more if you tried harder. This elicits not only admiration, but a touch of fear. Your powers are untapped. No one can fathom their limits. Reversal. The secrecy with which you surround your actions must seem light-hearted in spirit. A zeal to conceal your work creates an unpleasant, almost paranoid impression. You are taking the game too seriously. Houdini was careful to make the concealment of his tricks seem a game, all part of the show. Never show your work until it is finished, but if you put too much effort into keeping it under wraps, you will be like the painter Pontormo, who spent the last years of his life hiding his frescoes from the public eye and only succeeded in driving himself mad. Always keep your sense of humor about yourself. There are also those times when revealing the inner workings of your projects can prove worthwhile. It all depends on your audience's tastes and on the times in which you operate. P.T. Barnum recognized that his public wanted to feel involved in his shows, and that understanding his tricks delighted them, partly perhaps because implicitly debunking people who kept their sources of power hidden from the masses appealed to America's democratic spirit. The public also appreciated the showman's humor and honesty. Barnum took this to the extreme of publicizing his own humbuggery in his popular autobiography, written when his career was at its height. As long as the partial disclosure of tricks and techniques is carefully planned rather than the result of an uncontrollable need to blab, it is the ultimate in cleverness. It gives the audience the illusion of being superior and involved, even while much of what you do remains concealed from them. And that was chapter 30 of the 48 Laws of Power. And it's about keeping your secrets. Keep your secrets, keep everything hidden in terms of how you do things. And that will bring you power. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. And what this reminds me of really is the Democrat Party. And there's a lot of Republicans that have a tendency to be in awe of the Democrat Party, particularly the left, and have a tendency to want to emulate the left. And in some cases, they actually do emulate the left, because the left is concerned primarily in terms of efficacy, in terms of creating a movement with psychology and getting into people's psyche. And that's what it is that creates, and they do it in a very, what they call, you hear referred to very often as subtle and nuanced. And they do it in a very subtle and nuanced way. It's like what it says here, the power of children to bend us to their will comes from a kind of seductive charm that we feel in the presence of a creature less reflective and more graceful than we are. The Democrats have a tendency to use children as their role models in terms of power, in terms of getting into people's psyche. Children have only psychology at their disposal. They don't have enough knowledge to be able to engage anybody in a debate and be able to convince them through debate that they are right. So in order for them to get what they want when they want it, they have to use and resort to psychological tricks, maneuvers, manipulation, and sometimes even bullying and intimidation. And the Democrats know this, and they use those techniques to great effect. And that one of their most spectacular or spectacularly successful um, techniques of this sort is called prove the negative, where they encourage their opponents to prove a negative, usually by asking the question, why not? Why not this? Why not that? Why not the other thing? In reality, the question is not why not, but why. But if you can, um, again, use a certain tone of voice, if you're really smooth about it, you can, and as you see with the Republicans, get your opponents to twist in the wind, turn themselves into knots and pretzels, trying to prove why something should not happen, even though proving a negative is impossible. But yet you find Republicans of all stripes that, again, turn themselves inside out trying to do the impossible, and all at the bidding of the Democrats. And just this fact alone makes the Democrat or Democrats look powerful and create a sense of envy and jealousy amongst their opponents, making them want to emulate them. Okay, so we're going to be, let's see, tomorrow's the next law, Law 31, control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. The best deceptions are the ones that seem to give the other person a choice. Your victims feel they are in control, but are actually your puppets. Give people options that come out in your favor, whichever one they choose. Force them to make choices between the lesser of two evils, both of which serve your purpose. Put them on the horns of a dilemma. They are gored whichever way they turn. And that will be tomorrow on Sunday, August the 6th. And thank you for joining me, and see you tomorrow.